Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at Stay Healthy. Stay Healthy. It's something you take to make sure every single member of your team or group is healthy and 100% okay. You think the Caps can get some of that?
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Capitals. I am your host, as always, the insider to the insiders, Tyler Kuehl, here for another off-day edition, yes, of Locked On Capitals. Yes, it is it's another day when there's no hockey going on, at least in the Capitals. Lots of hockey going across the board in the National Hockey League. My goodness, it almost seems like it's a quote-unquote normal night in the NHL, whatever normal is, and I don't know why I'm doing the Chris Farley quotations after everything I say. If you're old enough to get that Saturday Night Live reference, thank you very much. And how was Mike Gartner back in the day for the Washington Capitals? Some probably of you remember the Ally Frady haircut if I'm going that far back. Holy cow. Today's episode, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to take a look around the National Hockey League. Number one, because, well, we have time to do so. So that'll be later on, though. We'll also talk about, I'm repping my premier or my Professional Women's Hockey Players Association sweater today. Also underneath, as you guys seen before, I got my, this shirt's really tight. It's my Toronto 6 shirt. I got my Toronto 6 shirt back because we're going to talk about the PHF, the Premier Hockey Federation All-Star nominations as well, because you know what? We need some women's hockey love on this show, eh? We need some women's hockey love on this network. So we're going to give it to you today because we're going to do better than TNT because we're not going to have anyone talk over me because if any of you have realized on this program, very difficult to do. Anyways, we're also going to talk about the Caps. It's a Locked On Capitals show because there was some news coming out of today. But first, I must thank you all very much, as always, for listening and watching this episode of Locked On Capitals. Whether you're watching on the Locked On Capitals YouTube channel, thank you very much for watching. Once again, you saw the fact that I have this awesome not baby blue, but this cool, I can't say the company. You probably just saw it on my arm, but it's made by a really big company that this sweater is made for, from the WHPA. And also pretty big name that's making the PHF shirt. Well, I got the Toronto 6 shirt when it was the National Women's Hockey League, so the NWHL, but it's the PHF now. And sorry, I didn't get a new shirt yet, but I will. I'll get plenty of new shirts here soon for all the women's hockey because I love it. But like I said, if you're watching, thank you very much. And if you're listening on your favorite podcatcher, thank you very much as well. And feel free, if you're watching, you're deciding to start driving, don't watch me while you're driving. Flip over to the podcast form. It's okay. The times are about the same. I don't think you'll miss too much, and vice versa. If you're listening, if you like watching, you're at home and you're bored out of your mind, you want to see something possibly maybe a slight bit entertaining and maybe just a little bit of positivity in your life, go ahead and watch us. So there you go. There's my little bit of fun little rant today. The Washington Capitals had a practice today. And so the first thing, a bit of news that we saw from the practice, that Connor McMichael, the guy I was talking about yesterday, coming in with the broadcaster jinx comes TJK. That's right. Connor McMichael not practicing because of a non-related COVID illness. He joined as well as TJ Oshie and Nicholas Backstrom. So just the flu bug, obviously, which is a big thing because according to from people in the medical field that I've been told, the strain that they picked for the flu bug this year, apparently they messed that up. So even if you got a flu shot, there's a good chance you may still get the flu. So anyways, that was obviously not good news to hear. But there was good news at the beginning of the practice. Martin Fehervary skating for the first time since coming off the COVID list. And what does that mean? Well, there were still 8 defensemen out there for the Washington Capitals. That's good to see because I know Michael Kempney is there, Dennis Cholowski's there. So, you're seeing maybe one guy looking on the outside coming up here soon because of a guy like Martin Fehervary coming back. And once again, this is dare I say, because tonight the Capitals were supposed to play the Montreal Canadiens at Centre Bell. But unfortunately, Montreal and the Leafs, I believe, got a couple postponed just so they could try to find a way to have games at home with fans later on in the season, maybe when things kind of calm down, if they calm down. But what ends up happening with Fehervary coming back, it gives them a time to get healthy, get back in game shape. So that means Kempney and Cholowski may be out of the lineup on Friday when they take on St. Louis. even though it is a first of a back-to-back because Minnesota comes up on Saturday on the Capitals menu. However, that comes into a little bit of a funny little story as Dmitry Orlov skated off the ice in apparent pain, according to Stephen Wino. Yeah, there's that. Just when you thought maybe, just maybe, because Oshie and Backstrom could come back by Friday, as could McMichael. We're going to have a full lineup, and then Orlov is hurt. Not good. So that leaves you 7 defensemen there on the ice. And by the way, the pairings, according to Samantha Pell from the Washington Post, friend of the show, she says Feyervari and Carlson were the top pair. Orlov, Nick Jensen, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, Justin Schultz, and Kempny and Chalowski on the fourth pair, what would be the scratched pair, if you will, or we can call it the taxi squad pair. But whatever, that obviously will change with Orlov getting not kicked out, but leaving the ice early. No disclosure on any injury after practice from Coach Laviolette. Towards the end of practice, also as well, going off with the trainer, Ilya Samsonov, just to make it just a little bit better for everyone here. All right, everybody, let's listen up here. It was one thing when you lose Orlov because he had such a great game, of course, on Sunday. Despite the loss, looked really good. Has looked really good this entire year. I thought Orlov has really come back. And of those 4 guys, Ovechkin, Samsonov, Orlov, I really think that, and Kuznetsov, of course, all of them have come back with a vengeance, have played a lot better. Samsonov and Orlov. Orlov being a bummer, but losing Samsonov is critical, especially at a time, like I said, here comes a back-to-back on Friday and Saturday. Vitek Vanacek can obviously take 1. Does this mean we see Zach Fucale come up here? Because right now the taxi squad featured Phoenix Copley come up, and I'm sorry, Copley hasn't played a game in 2 years in the National Hockey League? I'd be a little concerned there. I'd try to make a maneuver to get Fucale to come up here. I would think at least, because given the fact that I know Copley has more experience in the National Hockey League than Fucale does, but just look at the numbers down in Hershey right now. Fucale's been the better goaltender, and with that, the better prospect amongst the Capitals right now. Now, once again, we do not know the extent of either Orlov or Samsonov's injuries, but we all can kind of nod in agreement and say there's an issue here that needs to be addressed. And they're probably going to get reevaluated tomorrow. They're going to probably get a second look just to see how severe these injuries are, because with it being only Wednesday, they have a couple days before their next game. And they can see if it's just, maybe a little bit of a weird little bump in the road, a little bump or bruise or something. They can work out in a couple days, just take a couple days off of rest. But right now, there's a decision need to be made. Defense-wise, we've seen it. Obviously, Chalowski, Kempny, those guys can fill in those spots up towards the top. TVR can move up the lineup, what have you. There is an ability to put a defenseman in there and be okay and be able to get by, right? Especially this weekend coming up here. But losing Samsonov, when you have a back-to-back coming up here, and with Vanacek, I'm not saying, looking lackadaisical and his numbers coming down a little bit, but no matter what you can say is the fact that he has not been the better of the 2 goaltenders, contrary to what we saw back in early October. This is a situation where you're going to have to rely on a goaltender that you have not relied on in a while. Vitek has not played since the holiday break. It's been Samsonov in both games. Samsonov has certainly took back the number 1 job that he was going to have at the beginning of the preseason. And now Vanacek has to come in and do a little bit of a tough spot here, because right now the Capitals still battling for a top spot in this division, with the Rangers, as on time I'm recording this, tied with the Capitals for the top spot in the Metro. These are games right now that the Capitals think are kind of critical, especially given the fact that St. Louis is pretty good this year. Minnesota's the top of the Central Division. It's not like these are going to be some tough games coming up for this team, and they're going to need all hands on deck. And you're going to have to make a decision in goal here. I know Copley was one of those things for a taxi squad was, hey, he tested positive this morning. We have to go put him in net. Okay, but if you have time to bring up another goaltender, you really have to consider it. Now, once again, as I'm going on about this is all from this morning. This could easily be just a minor bump, minor injury that can be healed up in a couple days, and we'll be fine by this weekend. That's the best case scenario, of course. Worst case scenario, you got to bring up a goaltender. I'm sure there's some people out there saying, oh, Phoenix Copley, he deserves another chance. Okay, maybe he does. But who are you going to put them up against? St. Louis, when both teams are fresh, or Minnesota, when the Capitals may have a chance to win against St. Louis, but then you have to go up against the Central Division leaders, who are, dare I say, despite that awful start in the Winter Classic, a pretty good hockey team. We'll chalk that one up to the cold, eh? So yeah, a tough day in practice for the Capitals, injuries, and those are the only two, though. Like I said, Peter Laviolette, nothing more on the injuries. Obviously, wait for some more tests being done. Tom Galetti put it best. He said, Ilya Samsonov, this was a tweet from earlier today. Ilya Samsonov left the ice at the end of practice and appeared to be in some discomfort talking to a trainer on the bench before heading to the locker room. So it's not, I'm not saying this is like a groin pull, but the fact of the matter is when you talk to the trainer about something and you look uncomfortable, I mean, at least it wasn't like he had to get helped off the ice. Same with Orlov. It just was two guys that were banged up, and maybe, I don't know how tough the practice was. We didn't really get to see any footage of it, so we don't know if anything happened to them. But goaltenders these days, especially, you do a lot of splits. You do a little overstretching sometimes. If you don't warm up correctly, hello, Matt Murray. We've seen that happen a time or two. You pull something in warm-ups, it comes back to bite you in the butt. So we're going to have to, like I said, take a day or so. When we're going to have a chat with John Walton tomorrow, and maybe he'll be able to give us an update on the issue. Like we said, hopefully it's not too serious. So yeah, it's not an easy time right now. It's the injury bug that just will not go away for this hockey club. We hope it does, but unfortunately, the New Year's resolution does not include staying healthy, because that would require people to, require something to keep you healthy. Whatever it is, it's got to. The Capitals, let's just hope, like I said earlier in the year, hopefully the injury bug goes to the first half of the season, not the second half, because I would like to have both goaltenders healthy in the playoffs, and not have one pull his groin on the first shot he faces. That'd be great. Anyways, we'll obviously keep our eyes and ears on that. We'll here take a break, and then we're going to get into looking around the National Hockey League. We'll look around the rest of the standings. Yesterday was a deep dive in the Metro, but we'll just chat around and just kind of see how the rest of the league is doing as we kind of really get back into the full swing of things from the holiday / Christmas / COVID pause last month. But guys, it is the new year, so that means those New Year's resolutions are coming around, and if yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar and maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolutions because it tastes so good you'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky, waxy, or taste like a chemical spill. You'll want to eat healthy, but sometimes it gets so boring because by like the first 3 or 4 weeks, you're trying to think to yourself, it's not even worth it. Where's the chocolate? Well, just let you know that the Built Bars that are chocolate flavored are covered in 100% real chocolate. So right now, go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your first order. Once again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, let's look at the NHL standings here. Lots of great action as of late, and the division races towards the top. I know we are not even at the halfway point of the season, but we're at that stage where we can kind of see who is a pretender, who is a contender at the top of each division or towards the top. We mentioned the Metropolitan, how it's looked. The Rangers now with the win last night over Edmonton. Yikes. Mikko Koskinen's your goaltender, and you can't get a save. Dave Tippett is looking at possibly playing Stuart Skinner as your goaltender with Mike Smith possibly being injured again against the Leafs, who do have Austin Matthews because his PCR test came back negative, and Connor McDavid's out. We'll get to them in just a minute. Rangers, though, now tied with the Capitals. Both teams having 34 games played as well, so it's an even tie. Actually, the Capitals should have the tiebreaker, should they not? Because they have the wins. Oh, no, right. It's regulation wins first before it gets head-to-head. Anyway, so the Rangers up there, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Philly, Columbus, New Jersey, and the Islanders in that order. Let's jump to the Atlantic Division, where the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions still leads the Atlantic, 47 points. That is having them tied for third in the National Hockey League, 34 games played for the Bolts. Right behind them, Florida, at 46 points in 32 games. The Leafs, who have only played one game since coming back from the holiday pause. Hockey Night in Canada had something to do with that. We briefly discussed that, Mike DeStefano and I, on the Tuesday edition of Locked On NHL because of all the postponements in Canada. They have 44 points in 31 games played. They are still scheduled to play the Edmonton Oilers on Wednesday because it's a big TV game, despite not having a whole lot of fans in Toronto for that game. In fourth, right there, the Boston Bruins. They were kind of one of the hotter teams coming up through the Atlantic towards the end of the pause, and now there's possibility of having Tuukka Rask come back to kind of secure the goaltending a little bit. Jake DeBrusk, as far as I heard, was tested positive, is on the COVID protocol list, so obviously that's a little bit of a loss for depth, but the perfection line still going. Brad Marchand's playing pissed off because he's not going to the Olympics, so that's not good for teams right now. However, they are 10 points back of the Leafs in fourth. They just jumped the Detroit Red Wings with a win on Sunday. The Wings, though, still 500, 33 points. They do play on two. They did play last night. I didn't get the official score, though, yet at the time I'm recording this. They were playing who were they playing? San Jose. Played the San Jose Sharks. Buffalo in 6th, Ottawa in 7th, and with 18 points, the Montreal Canadiens. To the Central we go. The St. Louis Blues, we mentioned them. We'll talk about them a little more later on this week when we get up for their Friday matchup. They have actually, I say Minnesota, the Central Division leaders. St. Louis has actually taken that away from them. Sorry about that, folks, for confusing you. 43 points in 33 games for the Blues. They have been a very good hockey team. They've won their last 2, which includes the Winter Classic, 7 of their last 10 games. Jordan Binnington is looking back to form. You got Ryan O'Reilly up front. Vladimir Tarasenko, whether or not he's just keeping up his trade value, I don't know what you want to call it, but he's been playing out of his mind this entire year for the Blues. Defensively looking good. Jordan Kyrie's played big. He had a couple nice plays in that Winter Classic game. Right behind them is Nashville. And, we saw them last Wednesday, Caps fans, and that was a very fun game to watch. But we did see, though, how good the Predators can be. They can be a very tough team to play against, and they're very wide open, and they have, they have certain players that, obviously you can't mention, Matt Duchene having a bounce back year, Michael Backlund, and even without Roman Josi, they still looked good. UC Saros is certainly a number 1 goaltender, and, if they finish top 2 in this division, I don't see why he's not getting any Vezina candidate votes. My goodness, the way Saros has played. And it's a tough team right now. They're a very good team. I know they had their winning streak snapped, but they still won 8 of their last 9 games and 8 of their last 10 to be, in fact, with 1 being an overtime loss for the Preds. They sit second. Minnesota has fallen back to third. They've lost their last couple of games, but it's still a different team. Cam Talbot has been playing great. I know that was a bad game in general for the Wild on Saturday, outdoors at the Target Field. So I think we can all kind of just in agreement of that. But Kirill Kaprizov has played well. Marcus Foligno has been a key part of this team. You look at the defense as well. You have Jared Spurgeon back there. This is a more exciting team, but at the same time, outside of their offense, they still have the defense that is tough. They have this grit to them that makes them fun to watch as well. I've always liked watching the Minnesota Wild because I've liked the teams that find ways to grind out victories. So, yeah, are they a number 1 team in that division? I think if, once again, they win a couple games, they're back up top. So I don't see why not. Colorado, though, is nipping at their heels with 38 points in 4th. They've won 7 of the last 10 games as well. The biggest thing for them is that they're healthy. They're getting games back because they still have 5 games in hand of the Blues and the Preds. 3 in hand of the Wild. We knew this was going to happen. And Darcy Kemper, I think, has played a little bit better as well. And they've had good goaltending from here on and, when they need it. Because once again, we see this with nothing against Philip Grubauer, but we've kind of seen that Philip Grubauer is playing behind a really good team in Colorado. And we've seen him kind of get exposed a little bit playing up in Seattle. So I really think that Kemper's in the right role. And I think the Avalanche, with the guys they have up front, that's a good hockey team. And once I think they get these games back in order a little bit, they could certainly go on a run here and maybe go back to the top of the division like we all probably thought they were going to. Winnipeg's in 5th with 35 points. Obviously, a coaching change always kind of tough there. And it seems like they've kind of lost a little bit of that luster. I remember I saw it. In fact, they almost blew it against Vegas the other night. And there are some question marks with this team, and they just need to get more saves. And I think once they get the consistency back from maybe having the new coach Dave Lowry in there, they can get some wins together. Dallas, boy, they can't get a goal. They've gotten some good starts from Holtby and Jake Ottinger, sure, but man, they can't score right now. The Dallas Stars cannot score. And you know what? Maybe you get on the hot streak at the right time, that could help, but certainly they're on the outside right now. Then you have Chicago and Arizona at 7 and 8. Unfortunately, the honeymoon phase with Derek King has ended for the Hawks. They've only won 3 of their last 10 games. Arizona, of course, bottom of the league at 15 points. To the Pacific Division we go. The Vegas Golden Knights, 45 points. That's a little bit more like it. However, most games played in the entire National Hockey League with 35, as do the Anaheim Ducks. They're in second with 41. Ducks, though, have stumbled a little bit. They've dropped their last 2 games. 4 of their last 10 they have won, 4-3-3 for that matter. So they've played some tight games. Just it seems, I'm not saying that's a little bit of a luster as well, but I think that at this point, this team has kind of gotten to where they can figure it out. John Gibson, I think, has realized, hey, I can still be one of the top goaltenders in this league. Ryan Getzlaf has realized that, hey, I can still pass the puck like the Dickens, so why not keep that going? And, of course, you have Sonny Milano, Trevor Zegras, Calder Canada. It's all that good stuff up front. So there is something to kind of keep an eye on with this Ducks team as we get closer to March and the trade deadline. Calgary, 5 games back of both of them with 40 points. I'm interested to see how this team comes back, because when you have to come back after a long COVID pause, we saw it last year, especially with Vancouver. That team was out of sorts beyond belief. They couldn't figure out who to put on the ice, how to play on the ice. How will Calgary come back from this really long pause? Because they've had so many COVID issues. I mean, yes, they have the ability. I mean, they have guys like Milan Lucic, who is having a, dare I say, a resurgence this season. But are they going to be able to keep it up? Are they going to be able to really find that form quickly enough? Because while the rest of the Pacific is kind of falling back a little bit, are they going to be able to keep up with the teams up top to be a true contender? Because I mentioned that because the Edmonton Oilers have only won 2 of their last 10 games, and they got, despite out shooting the Rangers, they couldn't get a save to save their lives. Their goaltending is the massive question that they have to address ASAP if they want to have any shot of being, I'm going to say it, a playoff team. Because right now, the LA is right behind them with 37 points in this division. And Edmonton is only holding on to one of the wild card spots, but LA is right behind them with 37 points. Sorry, I have more faith right now in LA. Quentin Byfield's back with Ontario in the American League, and he's scoring right off the hop. And I tell you, if he gets healthy and he joins this Kings team, then just makes them a little bit deeper, the Kings are going to have a deeper offense than the Edmonton Oilers. That's how crazy this is right now. The Oilers have to try to address that, because if they can't get a save, boy, oh boy, Connor McDavid is going to learn his golf game on the courses on Southern Ontario, I'll tell you, faster than he wants to. So, and that's why, talking about the Kings, they've had a couple of really good performances. Andreas Athanasiou, I think, is having a real good year. Obviously, Andrei Kopitar is one of the leaders on that team. Jonathan Quick's playing well, and even when Quick went down and they needed Garrett Sparks to come in, he played all right as well. I mean, it's a crazy thing that they have going. San Jose is at 35 points, not out of it yet. Yes, they did have that wild game. And with Aiden Hill as James Reimer as your goaltenders, I know there's the big question there, but they're hanging in there. They're not out of it yet, but you wonder if the wheels are going to fall off with this team. And if there's anyone in the Metro that I think it really could happen to, I think it is the San Jose Sharks. Don't look now, though. They're tied for 6th with the Vancouver Canucks in the division, who have won 8 of their last 10 games. Bruce, there it is, guys. The Canucks are a playoff contender again. I tell you, I mean, you look at Bo Horvat, JT Miller, you're getting saves from Thatcher Demko. Like, that's what they needed last year. They lost Jacob Markstrom. They needed Demko to be the guy. He wasn't. And once again, I chalk that up to a little bit of the COVID issue. And obviously, Braden Holtby didn't have a great year either. But here comes Demko standing up, making some great game, putting together some great performances, and you're getting the goals, and you're having just a more complete game night in and night out. That's what's making the Canucks. And I think also it's that rejuvenation as well. Things were so negative when Travis Green was there. Same thing, with Jim Benning. It just didn't seem like there was a good aura around the team. And now you have guys like Bruce Boudreau, a little happy, just all having fun, big smiles, Boudreau in there. And that just kind of helps the team's morale. And that's why they're only 3 points out of a playoff spot. Seattle is bringing up the rear of the division at 10-19. Only the lone team in the Pacific Division below 500 with 24 points, though. It's an expansion team. I think we all can agree with that. So that is your look around the league. When we come back from this quick little pause here, we're going to talk about the Premier Hockey Federation. Yeah, that's right, kids. Women's hockey. I know this is the what they call the opposition's shirt. I don't care. I support all women's hockey. I love it. When we get to Olympic coverage, boy, you think I'm going to hit that hard? You're darn right I will. And not just the U.S. and Canada either, but we'll talk about the PHF All-Stars that have been announced as well. So with that, though, before we get to all that, BetOnline has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college football playoff and the pro football playoffs coming up next week. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season, so head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive the bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, do not wait. Take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 21-22 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available on BetOnline, where the game starts. I did not know why my voice got so low there when I said that. But let's, before we get to the PHF All-Stars, let's look at the 3 games we have on tap tonight. Unfortunately, at the time I'm recording this, not all the Tuesday games are done yet, so I'm not going to give you those because I don't want to be spoilers for you. But Oilers in Toronto in the 6th. That's a big game. The Leafs trying to get back towards the top of the division, trying to catch up with these games here, sitting in 3rd like we mentioned. And the Oilers trying to figure something out. They can't figure it out at all. The only other game is a TNT game that's actually played at 7:30, so normal prime time out here on the East Coast, east side of things. Pittsburgh taking on St. Louis at PPG Paints Arena. 2 of the hottest teams right now in the NHL going head-to-head. I'm going to like that matchup for sure. Vancouver was supposed to play the Islanders. However, that game was postponed due to COVID reasons. So let's go into something that I enjoy. I love talking about women's hockey. It's going to be exciting. January 29th is the PHF All-Star Showcase. There's obviously going to be a skills competition involved, but they announced today, today, make sure I'm like, was it today? Yes, it was. Sorry, this morning feels like so long ago because that's how long these days get for me sometimes. PHF announced all their All-Stars. They're going to be split up a little bit. They're going to try to figure it out, but they announced the 30 players along with the 3 captains for the showcase. I feel like they're going to split up in 3 teams or 2 teams. Well, there's only 3 goaltenders. I wonder how they're going to make that work. But the players are as follows. Can I make this thing a little bit bigger here? Can I open this image in tab? There we go. Let's do that. So that's better. I just need to make it bigger so I can see it. So here are I'll give you the captains as well. Sheehan Darkangelo from the Toronto 6 is one of the captains, as well as Jillian Dempsey, one of the leading scorers for the Boston Pride. Jillian Dempsey was a veteran of the PHF, as well as Annie Tunstrom from the Minnesota Whitecaps. Minnesota and Toronto, by the way, playing this week. I should do that more often. I should give you the PHF schedule for the weekends because they only play Saturdays and Sundays, obviously, because a lot of these players have to work during the week. So I'll start doing that on Fridays as well. I'll give you the upcoming schedule. Here are the other players. I'm going to try to do them by team as well. So from the Boston Pride, the defending Isabel Cup champions, McKenna Brand, Sammy Davis, mentioned Jillian Dempsey, Megara McManus, Christina Pictina, who I thought was one of the best players in the bubble last year. On defense, they have Amanda Boulier, Callie Flanagan, who is one of their top blue liners for sure, and Callie Fratkin, as well as Katie Burt, who really took the starting job this year for the Pride in net. So certainly a couple of good players coming from them. From the Buffalo Buttes, that'll be Taylor Kersey, as well as Angelica Diffendahl, Angelica Diffendahl, as well as on defense, they have Dominique Kramer and Marie-Jo Pelletier. I think the Buttes have played the least amount of games coming into this weekend, and I think they have a little bit more to give. They've struggled over the last couple of years. They've had a lot of turnover with management. Going to the Toronto 6, one of the semifinalists from last year. This is only their 2nd season, and right now they're the tops in the league at 7-1-1. Michaela Cava, who has been, I think, one of the biggest surprises, I think, on that team. Darkangelo as well, and of course their star player, the leading point scorer in the league right now, Michaela Grant-Mentis. Emma Woods as well, Lindsay Eastwood, Taylor Davison, and Taylor Woods. Elaine Chuley, who was the PHF Player of the Month for December, will be one of the goaltenders at the showcase as well. That's a really good team in Toronto. They have come into this league strong. Moving now to the Whitecaps, Jonna Curtis is going to be there, as well as mentioned Allie Tunstrom. Also, they'll have one defenseman, Patty Marshall. Bummer that Amanda Levier is not going to be there, because I thought she had a great, really, really good Isabel Cup last year. Really helped the Whitecaps and gave them a chance, I thought, to win it all. Unfortunately, just kind of fanned out when they got to the final to play Boston, but she was really good. Bummer she didn't get selected. I'm trying to think, who am I missing here? Connecticut Whale, duh. That's the other team. Taylor Girard, Kennedy Marchment up front, along with Alyssa Wolfeiler, who's been one of their clutch players so far this year for Connecticut. Tori Horan, Allie Monroe, and Shannon Turner on the back end. Abby Ives, the goaltender for the Connecticut Whale as well. And only one player selected from the Metropolitan Riveters, and two, Madison Packer and Rebecca Russo, making sure I'm not missing anyone on that front. So only 2 players from the Riveters. And obviously things could change, obviously, with players dropping out because of other, reasons and whatnot. And this is a cool thing too, because a couple of these players may have a shot to go play overseas in the Olympics coming up here. And it's right before the Olympics, because the first game of the Women's Olympic Tournament is February 3rd. It's only a month away, guys. I'm so excited. So excited. Love women's hockey. So those are your PHF All-Stars, the 30 players originally selected. Obviously, like I said, that could change, but we'll sure to update you guys because I love women's hockey. I know. I'm sure you'd love one to have one in Washington, D.C. I'm in Michigan. I'd love one to have one in Michigan as well. I think Detroit could be a nice spot. Grand Rapids could be a nice spot. We have a good turnout for our hockey, for the AHL Griffins here. I think I'd be a supporter of a women's team anywhere. My goodness, I love it. It's good stuff, and that's why I like to talk about it. With that, that's a good way to wrap things up here on a lighter note, on a positive note today. Let's do that. That's fun, right? We talk about bad stuff at the beginning. We finish with the good stuff here on Locked On Capitals. Be sure to follow us at Locked On Caps on Twitter. Follow me, the Insider of the Insiders, Tyler Kuehl, at TJKU29 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Yep, TikTok. I'm there, whether you like it or not. I didn't really think it was kind of a cool thing at the beginning, but you know what? I was sucked into it. We'll be back tomorrow talking with John Walton. Yes, that is right. John Walton, the radio play-by-play voice. Talk about the Caps, how they've been doing, and maybe talk to him a little bit about what he's been up to and why his career has been so filled with such great longevity and so many fun and famous calls. And even though he only says, I've only been with the Caps for like 10 years. Well, you've done a lot in 10 years there, Mr. Walton. So we'll talk to him tomorrow as well. So be sure to tune in tomorrow. And thank you very much for listening and watching this episode of Locked On Capitals. We'll see you tomorrow.